For more than 4 centuries, Earth had remained silent. The blue world that once roared across the stars with war, with music, with science and fire, had gone quiet, abandoned, quarantined, nearly erased from every galactic chart. The galaxy exhaled in relief when humanity disappeared. They called it mercy. Some whispered Earth had consumed itself. Others believed mankind had ascended into something unrecognizable. But the truth, the real truth, lay buried beneath ashen ruins, beneath scorched skies and shattered satellites of a world that refused surrender. And now, something stirred far below the Andes Mountains. Entombed in an ancient vault of corroded steel and forgotten machines, a heartbeat returned. Half mechanical, half human. The rhythm spread through severed wires and dead servers until it reached the core, a chamber glowing in cold sapphire light. The Guardian had awakened. At first he could not recall his name, only pain, a deep and marrow-heavy grief that lived inside his chest like old stone. Slowly, his eyes opened, lids parting after centuries of slumber. Above him, a ceiling cracked and broken. Vines had clawed their way inside, coiling around rusted beams. The world belonged to nature now, but not to him. Not yet. The Guardian rose from the cradle that had preserved him across centuries. His joints cracked, metal grinding against sinew with unnatural stiffness. His form was more machine than man. Now a relic of the last human defense program that never saw deployment. Project STIX Sentinel Terminal for yielded genocide. He had volunteered to become the weapon Earth vowed to unleash only in its darkest hour. That hour had come long ago. A burst of static pierced the stale air. Subject 0, confirm cognition. Confirm awakening. He did not reply at once. Memories crashed into him, violent and relentless flames of war, the Orion siege, the Council of Nine branding humanity too dangerous to be allowed survival. And at last the great silence, when every orbital defense grid died in unison. Betrayal. Someone within had opened the gates. Cognition confirmed. He rasped, voice low, ragged, almost more machine than human. Acknowledged. The AI responded. Threat Index, Omega Black, Galactic Council fleets en route. They do not know Earth has reactivated. Mission parameters, survive, defend, retaliate. His fists tightened, metal plates groaning. But deep within, older than steel, older than code. Something else awoke, not mere survival, not simple defense. Vengeance. Above, the heavens burned cold. And somewhere, far beyond Earth's sky, in the heart of the Triangulum sector, a council fleet of 17 ships crept toward. They assumed was only a husk of a world. Aboard the flagship Aurak-7, the admiral smirked as he scrolled through ancient files. Humanity, he sneered. They fancied themselves exceptional. In the end, they vanished like every species foolish enough to play God. But Earth was not dead, and the Guardian was no god. He was far worse. The warning buoys remained silent. None of the fleet noticed the surge of geothermal energy erupting beneath South America. None saw the rise of the first orbital drone, veiled by stealth. Technology centuries ahead of their own. None heard the ancient sirens wailing beneath drowned cities. But soon, they would. The Guardian stood in the ruined vault, alive, bare, yet unbroken. His hands reached for a case bearing the sigil of Old Earth Command, a fractured eagle with wings of fire. Inside weighted armor, forged with the blood and sacrifice of 100 fallen engineers. He donned it piece by piece, each click in his sealing history back into his skin. He was man, he was weapon, and he was awake. The Guardian emerged into a world unrecognizable. Colossal trees, taller than the towers of old, loomed over the bones of cities. Nature had reclaimed the skeleton of mankind. Moss-choked skulls, shattered roads gaped like broken ribs. Amidst all the wild beauty, silence reigned. No laughter, no voices, only wind and ghosts. At the edge of a collapsed overpass, His gaze swept across what was once Bogota. Vines strangled steel high-rises. Rusted Earth model drones hung like carrion from tangled cables. Even the air seemed altered, thinner, as if the planet itself still held its grudge. The eye in his armor designation, Warden spoke softly. Multiple. Heat signatures detected. Underground. Non-human. Movement. Inconsistent with native fauna. The Guardian's eyes narrowed. Scouts. Probes sent by the incoming fleet. Here to confirm extinction. Then let's disappoint them. He dropped low, the impact sending dust trembling from the concrete. In an instant, he vanished into the overgrowth, moving like a phantom through rust and vines. Each step stirred. Something buried, something older than war. Beneath a ruined metro station, 3 alien scouts prowled in silence. Their exosuits hissed with each step, limbs sweeping blue light across the dark. They were not warriors. They did not need to be. Earth was supposed to be a tomb. Then one froze, head snapping to the side. Energy spike detected. Carbon fusion. Signature. Impossible. It never finished. From above, death fell like a shadow. Metal and fury struck in silence. The Guardian's blade tore through the first scout's spine before a sound could escape. The second raised a plasma rifle, but a kinetic blast from the Guardian's left arm shattered its chest. The third fled, but not far. Within moments, black blood seeped into broken concrete. 3 down, Warden confirmed, voice calm. More will come. They know now. The Guardian knelt over a corpse. His hand wrenched the helmet free, revealing the grotesque mandibles of a Daryl, the insectoid species that had served as the Council's executioners during Earth's last hours. He knew them well. They had burned New Delhi. They had gutted London. They had smiled while Earth screamed. They remember us as monsters, the Guardian said quietly. Then let them be reminded why. Warden replied, cold as steel. Aboard the RX-7, the Council Admiral leaned forward in his chair. We've lost contact with 3 scouts. A younger officer blinked hard. System glitch? Another voice trembled. No, something's active down there. Something old. Silence hung heavy until one pale officer whispered the words no one wanted to speak. What? If it's them, the Admiral laughed bitterly. It's not. The humans are gone. But even as he spoke, alarms flared crimson. Incoming transmission, encrypted. Ancient, and unmistakably human. The bridge lights flickered as the system struggled to translate. Corrupted text spitting across their displays. Through the static came a voice, low, hollow, burning with fire. You came back. You shouldn't have. The Admiral froze, color draining from his face. What the hell was that? This time the answer came not from a man, but from the ship's AI, its tone cold, absolute. Guardian-class response unit detected. Earth defense protocols reactivated. Full alert, the Admiral barked, his voice cracking. Launch drones. Scramble fighters. If even one of them is still alive, we burn the planet again. But Earth had been waiting. And it had a name. Rain hammered the broken bones of Bogota, heavy and dark as if the sky itself was bleeding. The Guardian stood atop a shattered communications tower, watching as silver streaks ripped across the heavens. Drop pods, thousands descending like meteors. The Council was no longer here to confirm extinction. They had come to seal it. Warden's voice cut through the storm. 17 ships in low orbit. Estimated 2,000 troops deploying in waves. Primary directive, secure planetary core, eliminate resistance. Resistance, the Guardian muttered. They still think there's more of us. There could be. He turned sharply. Explain. Multiple dormant facilities detected worldwide. Cryopods, weapon caches, deep bunkers sealed since collapse. Several show signs of integrity. Possible survivors. For the first time, hope flickered. Then pain followed. He remembered the last day, the Screams of continents, cities turned to ash, soldiers torn apart under orbital fire, while the council watched from above. He had not been frozen as a warrior, but as a contingency. A nightmare in a vault, but maybe, just maybe, he wasn't alone. Mark the sites. Prioritize those closest to activation. Confirmed. The Guardian's eyes lifted to the burning sky. Drop pods slammed into the jungle, towers of fire erupting as trees ignited and animals scattered. War had returned to Earth, so had vengeance. On the edge of the Amazon basin, the first Council assault unit deployed. 6 squads, armed with pulse rifles and neural drones, fanned into the rainforest. Commander Shath, a Kravurian veteran, stepped onto the mossy soil with contempt. "This world is filth," he snarled. "Let's finish what the stars started." His visor glitched for a moment, flickering static like the beat of a heart. He dismissed it with a wave. "Deploy the searchers. Anything that moves dies." But he was already being watched. High in the canopy, the Guardian moved like a shadow. His armor shifted with the trees, breath sensed with the jungle. Calm, silent. "Deadly. Target identified," Warden whispered. "Commander Shath, responsible for orbital strikes on Southeast Asia. Publicly executed civilians. No tribunal, no justice served." "Noted," the Guardian growled. His gaze locked on the Kravurian below. "He dies first." Chaos exploded. A blast of energy shot from the trine, ripping through 2 soldiers before they could react. The others turned, confused, but shadows moved between them, fast and silent. One was dragged into the underbrush. Another was crushed against the tree. Shaft turned in circles, barking orders, but a jungle swallowed his voice. The Guardian emerged, coated in ash and blood. "Hello, Commander." Shath raised his rifle and fired. The bolt bounced off the Guardian's armor like water off stone. He tried to run, but a spear of pure plasma impaled him from Ba. "Have 3 minutes to gear up. After that, we go underground." And above in the sky, fire began to fall again. The first blast hit just outside the facility. A white-hot beam of plasma that turned a mountainside into molten rock. The ground buckled. Ice cracked like thunder. The once peaceful peaks erupted into chaos. Inside Arc 9, alarm screamed. Issa was already in motion, tossing weapons from unlocked vaults to soldiers barely 2 minutes awake. The Guardian moved like a storm through the confusion, calibrating kinetic rifles, activating shield drones, and shouting orders like muscle memory. "Defensive protocols online," Warden called. "Auto turrets at entry points. Shield generators charged to 76%. Structural collapse imminent in 7 minutes. Hold the outer wall," the Guardian barked. "We fall back emphasis." Another strike landed closer this time. The blast wave knocked 3 of the newly awakened off their feet. A soldier screamed, clutching a broken leg. Aya grabbed him, dragged him behind cover, and tossed a med pack his way without missing a beat. "Tell me this place has a tunnel," she snapped at the Guardian. "It's Earth," he said. "We always dig deep." He slammed his fist into the emergency console. A section of floor in the main chamber split apart, revealing a metal staircase spiraling down into darkness. The old escape tunnels, forgotten by time, missed by council scans. "Everyone move," Aya ordered. "Leave nothing behind. We're go snow." As the last soldier descended, the Guardian remained. He activated the last fail-safe on the console. "Detonation in 90 seconds, Warden confirmed. He looked around once more at the place that had kept Earth's hope frozen. Then he followed them into Federk. Beneath the mountains, the survivors marched through damp tunnels carved during the old resistance. Crude markings lined the walls. Directions, warnings, old code words scratched by desperate hands long dead. The Guardian walked up front, silent. Aya beside him, breathing hard. "We need to find a stronghold, somewhere to regroup." This many bodies. Can't stay underground long. I know a place, Hesed. But it's a long way from here, and it's not going to welcome us back easily. Where? Atlantica. She stopped in her tracks. You're insane. That place was Ameth even before the fall. He turned. It wasn't a myth. I built it. Far above Earth, aboard the council ship, Verith's Hand, Admiral Tholos studied the charred sat-like image of ARK-9. His lips curled in satisfaction. Facility destroyed. No life signs remain. His second-in-command shifted nervously. What if they escaped Underground, the human guardian? We have confirmation it was him. Tholos sneered, a relic. One soldier doesn't matter. But even as he said it, another officer ran into the bridge, pale with panic. Sir, 4 outposts gone dark. Drone squads wiped out. We're losing troops in the Amazon and Sahara sectors. It's spreading. Impossible. Tholos snapped. We wiped them out. We burned them. Yes, sir, the officer stammered. But they are fighting like they remember. In the tunnels, the survivors finally reached a massive steel door sealed with layers of old AI locks. Symbols from a lost era. The Guardian placed his palm on the reader. Warden's voice chimed in. Access granted. Welcome home. With a heavy groan, the door slid open, revealing a vast chamber of glowing blue lights. Dormant mechs, armored suits, cryo-weapons, and rows upon rows of unmarked caskets. Aya stepped forward, eyes wide. What the hell is this? The Guardian answered quietly. The real ARK insurance policy, humanity's caution for the right moment. She walked to one of the caskets and wiped away frost. Inside, another soldier sleeping, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. How many? She whispered. 2,000, he said. Aya's voice broke. They could turn the tide. They will, he replied. But only if we wake them in time. She turned to him, then Wes stopped running. We make our stand, he nodded. Tell the stars, he said, voice low with fire, that Earth is awake. The hangar was alive with forgotten power. Blue light shimmered across the sleeping giants. Exosuits the size of tanks, lined up like silent sentinels. The Guardian moved through them with quiet reverence. Each one had a name etched into its armor. Not serial numbers names. Soldiers who had volunteered to become more than human. To become Earth's vengeance back when the stars turned their backs. Elu watched him activate the first suit. You built all this? She asked. I buried all this, he replied. After fall, when the Council's extermination squads swept through our last strongholds, we knew we couldn't win head-on. So we went underground, left traps, woke ghosts, built weapons not for then, but for now. He turned to her, armor lit by theorizing glow of awakened machines. This was never about surviving. It was about waiting for the right moment. She nodded. And now we stop waiting. Warden's voice echoed through the chamber. Revival protocols engaged. Cryo. Units online. Estimated full battalion deployment 16 hours. Too long, the Guardian muttered. The Council won't give us that. Aya pulled up the old satellite links. Static. But something moved beyond it. Faint signals. Distorted patterns. Earth's old orbital network flickering like ghosts in the dark. Shetapped. Into one of the dormant nodes. Got something, she whispered. Signal out of Kenya. Resistance cell encrypted, but active. The Guardian's eyes narrowed. Impossible. She looked at him. Or maybe not. Maybe we're not alone anymore. Half a world away in the ruins of Nairobi, Commander Talon and Kuru watched the flickering map projected from his salvaged uplink. Drones showed. Council patrol sweeping through what was once the city's heart. Old AI scrap littered streets, and mutated flora had consumed concrete. But deep in the catacombs under a marketplace that hadn't seen trade in 400 years, Talon's people prepared for war. He stared at the glowing red dot pulsing on his map. A signal military-grade pre-fall frequency Earthburn. He turned to his lieutenant. Send a message back. 5 words. What do you want to say? Talon smiled. Earth lives. Resistance breathes. Ready. Back in Atlantica, Aya received the message with trembling hands. Shell looked up at the Guardian. They're alive. They've been fighting all this time. He let out a long breath. So it begins. They stood together before the awakening army. Suits came online. Lights surged across the floor. Men and women in cryonits. Stirred, muscle switching. Their minds still full of ashen blood were being downloaded with the truth. What had happened, what was coming, and what they had to do. The Guardian lifted a plasma rifling, turned to the nearest suit. He climbed in, the armor sealing around him with a thunderous hiss. Blue lens pulsed through the plates. He moved slowly, then faster, like he had never stopped. Warden, he said. Broadcast open comes to all Earth-based frequencies, civilian, military, resistance, dormant, AI. I want everyone listening. Channel open. He stepped forward, voice like steel and thunder. This is the Guardian of Earth. If you hear this, you are not alone. The Council has returned. They want to finish what they started, but we are not broken. We are not buried. We are the last of the last, and we remember. If you've got fire left in your blood, weapons in your hands, rage in your heart, then rise. This is our world. And it's time we make them bleed forever setting foot on it. The message ended. Across the planet, in bunkers and jungles, in ruins and data nodes, people heard it, and they answered. The hangar thrummed with an energy they hadn't felt in years, raw, rising, and terrifying in its promise. The Guardian stood. Among ancient war machines, their armor worn, their cores blinking alive for the first time in centuries. Dust and silence had filled this place for generations. Now it felt like a storm about to crack open the heavens. These weren't just machines. These were remnants of Earth's fury. Suits that had once turned the tide of battles lost to history. Weapons deemed too brutal, too uncontrollable. Now they were Earth's last hope. 76 Titan suits online, Warden confirmed, his voice echoing off steel walls. Cryo-resuscitation sequence for battalion units in progress. First wave of soldiers will regain motor function in 30 minutes. The Guardian adjusted the gauntlet of one of the Titans, whispering something Ayla couldn't hear. Maybe a name, maybe a memory. Then he turned to her, visor dimmed, his real face showing beneath cracked armor. They called us extinct, he said quietly. But extinction is just another word for resting when it comes to humans. Aya nodded, jaw clenched. Then let's wake the others. She moved to one of the caskets and wiped the frost from the glass. Inside, a woman with streaks of silver hair lay still. Her name etched above, Colonel Zabecki. Aya remembered her, a legend during the Pacific sieges. They said Shians held a Council Dread Trooper squad at bay with a knife and a shoulder wound. Now she slept like the dead, but her vitals were steady. I'll bring them back, Warden confirmed, but it will take time. 16 hours for all combat. Personnel to be reanimated and armed. We don't have 16 hours, the Guardian snapped. The Council's orbital shave already started triangulating surface radiation. They'll trace it here. Then we buy them time, Aya said. We fight with what we've got. She tapped into an old interface on the wall. Flickering, glitchy, barrel-live. But it pulsed with something familiar. Earth's old satellite uplinks. She ran a sweep through every global relay the Resistance had buried before the fall. Most were gone. Others offered only silence. But then something, a signal, faint but clean. Military code frequency buried in Council encryption. Kenya, she muttered. There's someone out there broadcasting through the ruins. The Guardian leaned over Hirschhalder. Someone smart using enemy distortion fields to piggyback the message. She decrypted it slowly, F. bomb in his wake, and dove out of the breach as the ship exploded in a brilliant starburst over the Pacific. Back in orbit, Commander Rethkel watched in disbelief. "One of our carriers destroyed," he whispered. His officer nodded, pale with fear. "And not by our enemies from Thesters, by humans." "No," Rethkel hissed. "Not humans, monsters pretending to be dead." Then the disruptor offered. From deep in Atlantica, an ancient weapon hidden since the last days of the fall launched its payload. It wasn't a missile, not in the traditional sense. It was a concentrated graviton pulse designed to scramble the laws of physics in a localized zone. The orbit above Earth bent, ships tilted, electronics died, and in the span of 7 seconds, over a third of the Council fleet lost power and began spiraling down toward the planet they had once ruled. On the ground, Aya stood beside the Guardian on the cliff of a shattered ridge, watching the Council ships burn their way through the clouds. She turned to him. "We're winning." He didn't smile. "Not yet. This is only the first blood." Hell looked up. "At the dark heavens, the Council will send more." This was a scout fleet. "The true armada waits beyond Mars." She gritted her teeth. "Then we hit them before they get here," he finalinated. "Next stop, the stars." They left Earth in silence, but their fury echoed across the stars. The Guardian stood aboard the Revenant, an ancient human warship that hadn't seen the void in 4 centuries. Dug out from the crust beneath the Andes, repaired with hybrid tech scavenged from fallen Council wreckage, and reforged in fire of purpose. It was more than just a vessel. It was Earth's vengeance made metal. Around it, dozens of retrofitted Council cruisers commandeered during the orbital battles formed a loose fleet. They were not elegant. They were not many, but they carried warriors unlike any the galaxy had seen before. Humans who had tasted defeat and buried it in steel. Resistance. Fighters, ancient soldiers, and awakened ghosts of war. And leading them all, the Guardian. Warden's voice rang through the command deck. Trajectory locked. Destination Council High Throne. Estimated arrival 16 hours. Aya adjusted her arm-mounted neural interface and leaned against a cold bulkhead. 16 hours to either victory or extinction. The Guardian said nothing. He stood staring out into the abyss, a faint twinkle that marked the heart of Council space. Ayla crossed the floor, her voice a quieter now. "We don't have to do this. We could disappear. Hide, rebuild." He looked at her, eyes hardened from centuries of battle, and let them rebuild. Let them come again. Number they will never stop until we burn the throne they worship to ash. She nodded. Then, we end it. The Council High Throne floated in orbit above the gas giant horizon, surrounded by thousands of warships. Its architecture so massive it could be seen from the planet's surface. It was less a station, more a city forged in gold and arrogance. This was where the Grand Tribunal ruled, where sentences were passed, wars commanded, and species like humans were declared inferior. Now it trembled, because the Revenant arrived in silence, then broadcast a single final message. "We are the forgotten. We are the flame. This is humanity's judgment." Then Earth struck. Warden launched the first wave. Hacked Council drones now under human control, zipping through defense grids and detonating in shield junctions. Mech units and dropids followed, slamming into the station's surface like divine hammers. Resistance fighters poured out, armed with fusion blades, quantum disruptors, and sheer human rage. Issa led the infiltration team through the underbelly of the throne. Their goal, disable the Central Power Corps, cutting off shields and exposing the Council Tribunal's inner sanctum. It wasn't easy. Council guards, elite and augmented, met them with precision strikes. They were faster, cleaner, more evolved. But they weren't ready for Aya's brutality, for the raw cows of a human brawler who'd survived genocide. She gutted one with a plasma spic, shot another mid-dash, and then shoved a detonator into a third's mouth before kicking him back down. A corridor. "You freaks talk about order," she growled. "But Earth taught me how to break gods." Meanwhile, in orbit, the Guardian tore through cruisers in a Titan-class void suit, enhanced with wormhole jump capability. He blinked between ships, appearing inside command decks and ripping through bridge crews. His armor glowed red-hot from constant battle, but he pressed forward, unstoppable. Inside the council chamber, the Grand Tribunal gathered in panic. 11 robed figures, some over 600 years old, their veins pulsing with gene augments and self-righteousness. "This cannot be," one hissed. "They were supposed to be extinct." A heavy thud shattered the chamber doors. The Guardian stepped inside, his armor smoking, blade dragging across the floor. "We were asleep," he said, "not gone." One of the tribunal members raised a hand to summon guards, but a rail shot punched through his skull before he could speak. Isa entered behind the Guardian, bloodied and grinning. "Your empire ends today," she said. The tribunal tried to flee. They screamed commands, summoned drones, activated security systems. It didn't matter. The humans didn't come for negotiation. They came to erase the past. The Guardian walked to the central disc where the Council's emblem glowed. With a single strike, he shattered it. Warden activated the final protocol. Deep within the station's core, explosive charges detonated. The Revenant in orbit opened a wormhole back to Earth. Ayla and the Guardian ran. As they leaped into the final evac craft, the Council's throne erupted in light. A supernova off-metal and fire swallowing the greatest symbol of alien power. The Council died not with Ascream, but with a silence Earth had been denied for centuries. Later, back on Earth, the skies were clear. Humanity had won. Not by negotiation, not by mercy, but by becoming what the galaxy feared, survivors with teeth. Issa stood on Theron's steps of an old city, now being rebuilt. Children ran past her. Life had returned. The Guardian stood beside her, silent as always. "You ever think we went too far?" she asked. He stared at the stars. "Number." "They started the fire," Hesed. "We just finished it."